Hear the stories of men and women switching hustles and escaping the odds through entrepreneurship after prison. Not only will these stories inspire you, but also unlock business tips for financial freedom. Let's get it. Thank you all for tuning in to another dope episode of Escaping the Odds podcast, where we interview the formerly incarcerated who are now successful entrepreneurs. Today, we have on the show episode 32, my main man, Kevin Anderson, who's the owner, CEO, president of Ardent Plumbing. Did some significant amount of time incarcerated, came home, bounced back, and now he's a master plumber running a successful plumbing business in the Texas area. So I want to introduce Mr. Kevin Anderson to our audience. So thanks for joining us, brother.
Absolutely. Greetings. Peace.
Definitely, bro. How you doing, man? Glad you were able to get on.
Doing well, man. Glad to make it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you, bro, for coming through. So yeah, just take us back through that situation, man. Like a little background about yourself, where you from, and what you got going with the plumbing company as well.
Man, my background is really just through born in St. Louis, Missouri. Grew up poor, inner city like most people.
Okay.
And got into the streets, got into dealing with some situations with people that ended up costing me my freedom.
Okay, absolutely. All right. So what year did this kind of start? Like when did all this kind of take place? If we can get a little backstory, back history with it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going all the way back, when back in the late '80s, when crack hit the scene, I was
Okay.
young, poor, on the streets, doing my thing. Did that for about 10, 12 years. You know what I mean, and
Okay.
finally left that alone, and ended up taking off.
Okay. So eventually you moved to another state though, right?
Yeah, so in '99, I moved to Texas to get a
Okay.
whole fresh start.
Okay. But before then you were in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, went to Minnesota. Yeah,
Okay.
I was between St. Louis and Minnesota. Same thing, in the
Yeah.
streets, hustling.
Right. Okay. And so when you were in Minnesota, like how was that whole situation going on down there that got you a little bit more deeper into the game?
It was crack had just hit the streets, man, in '87. So around about that time, I was about 13 years old, trying to get some money, and the
Yeah.
people that I was under, they taught me the best that they could, and all they knew how to do was hit the block and get some bread. So that's what we did.
Okay.
Did that till '99, then moved to Texas.
Okay. So what pretty much prompted you to move to Texas? Did you get out the game or was it
Yeah,
like situ Okay.
yeah. So by '99, I had figured I had enough bread. I could leave. I was done. I pretty much was considered retired. I'm going into retirement, so I was looking for
Okay.
somewhere cool
So
that I could head to.
yeah, so you was retired at a young age, or how old were you then?
Man, I think I was 24, 23, 24. Yeah.
Okay. And so what ended up basically happened once you went down to Texas because Minnesota to Texas, that's a big difference, man. So what really prompted you to go down to Texas in the first place?
Man, it was just some alternative business, strip clubs, managing,
Okay.
supervising, you know,
Okay.
giving some instructions and into that little business for a little bit. And, it wasn't really profitable. It wasn't nothing that I really wanted to do. They was trying to recruit me to be a manager, as you say, pimp, what we call them in the street, but I ain't really no pimp type dude. So
Right.
that didn't go very well because I'm not the type to be putting my hands on any woman or forcing them to do anything they don't want to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. You definitely don't come across as that type.
Sir.
Yeah. So okay, now you kind of switched over and did something else. But what got you back into the dope game? Because you had just retired from it, so you really didn't need the funds, but
Right.
yet you still got yourself caught up in a situation that eventually took your freedom away from you. So let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, man. I would definitely tell people once you walk away from something, man, stay away from it.
Okay.
There's a parable that says, don't return to your vomit. Once you spit it out, leave that alone. Me, I ended up having somebody from my old clique contact me. One of my OGs, and he was one of the cats that kept me afloat back in the day. So I felt like I owed him something. So
Okay.
I was doing him a favor ended up costing me my freedom.
Okay. And so what actually happened? If you could take us through that situation.
Um, you know, Me being down here in the South, I'm close to the border, so everybody kind of assumes that all the connections is down here. You in Texas, Florida, California, somewhere. You close to the coastline. You close to the connects. I told him, that I didn't really know anybody down here, so I wasn't too comfortable dealing with strangers. That was one of the G codes. You just didn't do that. You don't mess with no strangers. You don't do nothing, with nobody that you ain't familiar with. He asked me for something, and I looked around, contacted some people, got something for them for him. He didn't like what it was, so he like, hey, cuz I can't do nothing with this. Can you help me out? You know what I'm saying? Ain't no return policy on it, so I end up being stuck with it.
Okay.
Them folks like, man, we're gonna help you out. We're gonna have our nephew, help you and get rid of that for you. But they didn't know the nephew had already caught a case and he was working his time off.
Oh
Me,
wow.
me being the stranger, I'm the new cat. It's easy to throw me under the bus, so that's what he did. Set it up, called me, told me he wanted half the thing. I come over there with it, and he wasn't nowhere around, but them folks was around.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And so you end up with that whole process. That was a state case or was that federal?
and so the feds looked at it. They considered taking it, and they ended up letting it go.
Okay.
So it went state, and I ended up doing almost 4 years in state down here in Texas.
And what was I know I heard about the Texas state, prison system. So like how rough was that, or what was your situation or transition like? Because you had never been incarcerated before, and to
Right.
go from for one, it's a difference. Like if you're in your home state, you may know some people when you get inside that can kind of make your living arrangement a little better. But you're in a whole new environment. You in Texas, and you in adjoining Texas. So how did that fare? Like what was that situation like?
Man, it's kind of like if you're a real dude, man, if you're a real stand up guy, no matter where you at, you're gonna be all right. Yeah, it's rough in Texas, but it ain't no rougher than being in St. Louis, being in Compton, being in Minneapolis. I mean, every city got a hood. It's all about how you carry yourself, you know what I'm saying? And the way I carry myself, it's a mutual respect thing. As long as nobody disrespect me, I ain't disrespecting nobody else.
Okay.
And nationwide, it don't matter where you at, you're gonna run into people that's from your city. I've ran into plenty of dudes from St. Louis, Minneapolis, and we all clicked up and stayed together. And we I knew quite a few people actually that knew some of my people. We didn't know each other
Okay.
directly on the streets, but they knew some of my people from the city.
Right. Okay. And so pretty much your stay wasn't all that bad. Because not only just for that, but also you learned like this new trade in which you were able to come home and actually turn it into a really successful company, which is the plumbing. And so how did that whole thing transpire while you were incarcerated?
So yeah, before I actually got when I got the case, I started
Okay.
trying to prove my lifestyle had changed. So I started taking classes and doing all kinds of different jobs. I was out on bond for almost 3 years. During that time, I got my AC certification, got my electrical apprentice license. So I was doing all that stuff. So that kind of traveled with me when once I went to court. Once they convicted me, when I got locked up, everybody got to have a job. So I ended up getting fortunate enough to be on the maintenance crew, and the plumbing dude is the one that I ended up working for, and I ended up really liking it.
Okay. Cool. And so with that, you realized that hey, did you already have in your mind? Okay, when I come home, I know I got to do something differently. Did you already have in your mind that you were going to start a plumbing company, or did it just kind of happen once you were released?
No, so while I was in there, I stayed in the books. I was reading the whole time. Man. That's all I wanted
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
do at that time. I think I read over 100 books while I was in there. Some of them I read multiple times, and I was
Exactly.
piecing together a plan on what I was going to do. I just knew I couldn't come back out messing with the same people doing the same thing, or I was going to get the same results.
Exactly.
So
Right.
I actually put together a plan. The plan was to start a remodeling company. So that's what I did when I got out. Started a remodeling company, and you have to have licensing to actually start a plumbing company. You have to be a master plumber to start your own plumbing company. So
Okay.
my plan is what I put on paper was to find a school. I found it while I was in there. Got out, went to that school, completed the 5 year program, graduated, and that's when I followed the plan, just executed my plan all the way through. Got my master's license, started my own business.
Okay. Cool, man. That's definitely commend you on that. Because oftentimes we don't see a lot of people that look like us in those trades, right? And especially
Right.
not in prison. At least based on my experience, while I was in prison, a lot of the Caucasian guys kind of held those what we call
Yeah.
facility jobs. So even if we did want to kind of learn a new trade like that, it wasn't really that opportunity for them to do that, at least based on my experience. And so for
Right,
you to kind of see that, see a lane, get in it, and then take it a step further once you get out and create your own brand with it. Like I say, man, I think that's definitely a great thing. And so,
right.
okay, now you out, right? You already had business sense because you had successful in the streets or whatever. Oftentimes, people may believe that because it's illicit activities that it may not have hold some of the same, I guess, I want to say values, but kind of similarities, if you will. And
Right.
so, like, how difficult or not was it to kind of to start your plumbing company once you were
Um,
released?
you know, it wasn't easy, man. It's not easy starting any kind of company. You have to put in the time, you have to put in the legwork. You have to definitely master whatever your skill is, your trade or whatever it is to get it down so that you know what you're doing, But to what you had said, though, yeah, I knew that I had business sense because, I was managing crews on the street. So, I had dudes that was handling certain situations for me. Some people was handling blocks. Some people had whole neighborhoods, so
Right.
it was a management hierarchy already. I just flipped the product and, now the product is pipes and tankless water heaters and, water heaters and everything like that. Same
Exactly. Okay.
hustle, same hustle
So,
though.
yeah, no, absolutely. I like to say you switch hustles,
Hmm.
and was able to like you said, it's the same different product, but the same hustle with it.
Right. Yeah.
And so, what were some of the things that you did to actually get the business started? Like, in case someone is listening, they want to start them a company within the trades, and they kind of know about the know abouts to kind of get things started.
Yeah, man. I say the most important thing is, with having a F on your record or being black in America,
Yeah.
we can't just know how to do the job because Billy and Bobby they can know how to do it and they're gonna get that job, they're gonna get that promotion.
Okay.
So one thing I always told myself, and this is what I would tell anybody else, is go and learn whatever the skill is of the business that you want to start.
Okay.
Humble yourself. I worked under people that I didn't like, but they had that knowledge, and I needed to get that from them. So humble yourself. Go do what you got to do, even if it requires sweeping the floor and mopping.
Mm-hmm.
Soak up the game, get the knowledge, but don't just learn how to do it. Learn how to explain it. Learn how to put it on paper. Learn how to break it down. You want to be so thorough with it that you know how to teach it, so that when somebody speaks to you, they don't even question if you know what you're doing because the way you talk and the way you conduct yourself, they already know, man. The confidence level is here. He know what he's doing.
Right. Exactly. So how has that approach that you took? How has that kind of helped manifest like your success in your business now?
It helps quite a bit, man. I have to deal with city inspectors all the time. I have to deal with engineers all the time. And, if anybody's dealt with an engineer, they know that engineers always think they smarter than everybody in the room.
Mm. Okay.
So one thing I made sure to do was make sure that if there are people that are smarter than me in this area, when we have a conversation, they clearly understand that I'm just as intelligent and I can maintain a conversation and then break the thing down just as thorough as they can. So we're dealing with city inspectors and these engineers. It's important because when they first see you, they're going to see your face and they automatically assume that, oh, what does he know? Especially if
Yeah.
you're black. Especially if you're black, they're going to automatically think that we're supposed to be the helpers. We're not supposed to be the boss or the people that they need to check in with. I make sure that there's a clear understanding with the verbiage that I use, with the knowledge that I use on the plumbing side, that they clearly understand that they're talking to a person that is a high in the hierarchy of this thing. So
Okay. Gotcha.
I carry it all over, man. It's all the same. It's just the same hustle, new product. Though, like you say, switch hustles.
Exactly, absolutely. And so, also, you talked about specialties before we had our
Yeah.
conversation. How important is that? That could be with anything, though. Oftentimes, um, a person may go into business and they're doing something general, right? Where you're
Right.
kind of being everything to everybody.
Right.
But what you're doing, although you're in the plumbing industry, there's certain things that you're kind of known for. That
Absolutely.
as a specialist, and how important is that to your success, and even just in general with someone to be able to have like a niche market or some kind of specialty to kind of understand and know, and that way it can kind of it can afford you a higher rate because you
Right.
know a specific thing.
Yeah, specializing in an area is what's going to separate you from the pack. So if there's everybody's doing, say, with electrical, let's say everybody's doing lights and switches. Well, the dude that knows how to do the circuit boards, he's going to be more in demand because not a lot of people know how to rewire a whole circuit board. So if
Right,
you can find something that a lot of people really don't even like, if you find something that they're not doing specifically a lot of, then master that. That's going to be a tool that you can use that'll give you that and give you that advance in the race. You know,
right,
uh, in addition to that, find something that you enjoy doing and master an area of that. Find something in that thing that you like doing and specialize. Become the best at that or one of the best.
right. Okay, let's get into the money side of things, right? Because
Yeah,
just like with any business, a person gets in and they want to know that they can kind of make a decent living for themselves, right? A lot of people may already know, or maybe they don't. With a plumber, oftentimes, like they may make working for someone else, you may make $40, $50 an hour, right?
right.
But of course, starting your business it could be a little bit more lucrative than that. Is the industry lucrative, or what makes it lucrative, or not?
You know, I personally believe that any industry is lucrative, whether you're a painter, a tiler, a roofer, a framer, if you're into any trade, if you're a computer programmer, whatever it is, everything is pretty much lucrative. It's all based on demand and supply. So supply and demand is balancing out, and you're doing good work and you get known for that reputation of the quality of work that you do. It really don't matter what it is, as long as there's demand for it. If you're going to be one of the best at it, then you can always capitalize on it. Plumbing,
Absolutely.
with plumbing, electrical. I know rich roofers. I know rich drywall guys. I know people
Yeah,
who started painting companies that these dudes are doing well. So
yeah,
the money's out there. It's just about doing quality work and showing your personality, standing behind your work. That's critical
yeah.
too. Stand behind your work.
Absolutely. Okay. And how do you go out and be able to get those contracts? Like what's normally the process? This probably can go for anything, but I know your specialty is the plumbing industry. How do you go out there and get the bag and know who the right person to speak to get those contracts? What's that process look like?
Man, I did a lot of research when I was locked up about who uses the services that all these different trades offer. And one of the things I like about plumbing is that there's not a person on the planet that don't use plumbing. Even
Right.
a homeless man gonna find somewhere to use it, flush a toilet once a day. Uh,
Exactly right.
so everybody need lights, everybody need air conditioning, everybody need a roof over their head, they need the cars fixed. So I studied the areas of where these things were specialties for, and when I got out, I was doing mostly hospitals and data centers and clean rooms, and I knew with that knowledge that I had from there, I could take that over to the residential side. So then I started looking at who's on the residential side, who are the people that I really need to get this in front of. I knew realtors; they're always dealing with people. They showing houses all day long, and they
Mm,
selling houses all day long. So they got a list of all kinds of stuff that needs to be repaired on these houses before they're sold. Or the buyer, they get the house, they're gonna want some things done because they want to change some stuff up. So that was one place that I targeted. We have to look at where are the needs for these things that we have. If you're a painter, who needs paint? Everybody. Everything needs to be painted. Even the water towers that you see when you're driving down the street.
yeah.
Everything has to be maintained in this life. So if you find that niche, you want to study who uses what it is that you have.
Okay. And so how did you come up with your compensation? Like what did you know to charge these organizations and companies?
So with that, that's all research, man. It's all about, a person has to want to do the work because nobody's going to tell you what these prices are. Everybody's gonna tell you some old, far-fetched price. I called around. I would call different companies and ask them, how much it costs to do something like this right here. I need this done on my house. It's called market research,
Right.
in the business side of things. But I did that. I also went online and searched. I went and Home Depot, Lowe's. I looked up all these websites and just started looking at what do they charge for these services? What do they
Hmm.
charge? What do they charge for the things I know how to do?
Right.
And in addition to that, one of the I'd say the coldest move I did was I went and got a job with a company that I knew was the company pattern off of what I wanted to start. And
Okay.
I worked for them,
I
and
like that.
I went in there with the whole intent of, covertly getting intel. And I pretty much told them I became their number one dude. Me and one other guy were going back and forth for months about who was number one sales, who was doing the best work, who was doing the highest volume. And I really was there just to get the price book and figure out what they were charging for things. And once I got everything that I needed, I gave them my notice. I didn't just cold turkey quit on them because you never know
Right.
how things gonna go. So don't do that. Don't burn no bridges. Um,
Exactly.
I got the information that I needed, and I let them know, hey man, I think I can do this on my own, man. So I'm gonna take a chance with it.
Okay.
Of course they tried to talk me out of it, but I already got all the information I needed.
Yeah. No, that was definitely innovative how you went about it and did that. And so right now, how big is your company now? And how long you been in business?
So I've been in business independent now. This is my fourth year.
Okay.
Um, and prior to that, I was in school for 5 years. So right now, I currently have four trucks and four employees.
Okay. Cool. All right. And so, what is it easy to say that if you own a company, a plumbing company, that you can make um a high six figure income as far as like your
Um,
company revenue? Is that tangible?
Man, I would say for the brothers that's out there watching this right now, wondering like if any of this stuff is something that you can actually profit off of or live a good quality lifestyle off of.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm this the key to the spaceship right here. This is what I pulled up in. That's what the plumber pulling up in. So
Okay.
when I say that you have the potential to make just as much money as a dentist, as a lawyer, as a doctor, you really do. You can live that balling lifestyle off of doing your own business, whether that's being in a trade or whether it be some type of service or some type of new products that you're selling.
Right.
You can do it and be well profitable into the six figures, even seven figures. There's people who buy franchises. There's a couple of plumbing companies down here that are franchises that I've been actually watching and studying because I'm going to franchise this one. And once I franchise this, we're going to take it to that next level. But right now, currently, yeah, we're in the millions. We're doing the mills.
Oh wow, that's really impressive, man. Especially, coming from where we come from, to be able to grow a company to that size, man, it's definitely remarkable. And I definitely hope people that's listening, if they ever thought about getting into the trades, and maybe this is something they can maybe tell their brother, sister, family member, friend that this is
Absolutely.
their opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. I mean, the potential is there. A person just has to want to do the work, man. Nobody's gonna give us anything. And once we got this felony on our record, of course, that really puts a little bit of a thumb on us. So we got to push a little bit harder. But everything's obtainable, man. Anything
Yeah.
you want, you can have it as long as you put in the work.
So you said I'm glad you talked about what was next because that was my question, man. Just talking to you that first time, I knew that you had something big down the pipes. No pun intended. You know what I
Yep,
mean?
yep,
But
yep, yep, for
but
sure.
but but, but definitely some that was coming up. And so with that franchise opportunity, is that something that you're trying to take nationwide or just kind of keep in the Texas area because Texas it's a big territory in itself. And so what's your thoughts with that?
Man, so my thoughts with it is nationwide, even international. I'm thinking big. I shoot real high.
Okay,
I aim that to a ridiculous height, and that way, if I hit something in between there, I'm still good.
still good,
Yeah,
right?
so I'm looking, international, state to state, especially
Okay.
like the states that I got people in. So my first franchise is already pre-sold right now. He's just waiting for me to get it put together. But that first one's going to be in St. Louis, Missouri, and the second one's going to be in Minneapolis.
Okay, cool, man. So you already getting things taken care of, man.
Yes,
So
sir.
again, kind of utilizing that same ambition that you once had in the streets and just switching hustles and doing something different with it. I think
Absolutely.
again, man, that's pretty dope. It's really an inspiring story. You mentioned something earlier, man, that you read over 100 books while you were incarcerated. Like, what was one book that really stood out to you, man, and really changed the way that your thought process and your mindset. And so when you knew that you got out, you was like, okay, this is what kind of helped me get to that point.
Yeah, man, that's a real easy one. It's by Anthony Robbins. It's called Awaken the Giant Within.
Okay.
That book, my book, it looks tattered. The pages got different colored pen marks and highlighters, and
Yeah.
tags, and everything because it's a reference book now. That book, I read that book about 6 times, and I still use it as a reference book now. And it helped me to understand that I needed to change not just what I was doing and who I was doing it with, but I needed to change everything about myself. I needed to reprogram the whole computer all the way. I had to take the viruses out, get the bugs out,
Yeah.
put in everything that I needed into that computer, and then understand that not only is this a computer, but this is a movie that we're living in. So I had to bring in the right characters to fulfill these roles that I had, these positions. That book taught me to change my vocabulary, stop using certain words and terms because words have power. So the words we use are going to create the path that we walking down. I stopped surrounding myself with people who were on negativity. Anybody that was
Hmm.
talking about what they couldn't do, I couldn't be around them. I needed to be around the can do people. Surround yourself with people who talk about what you can do, not what you can't do.
Exactly. You mentioned the team and people, and no business can run on its own. I like to tell people all the time, like when they're starting a company, you can't be an island, right? You need help. There's no
Right.
such thing as a self-made person. Although we hear that term often, we always need some kind of a team. And so, how important was building a team for you to get to the success where you at right now?
Well, with what I do, man, it's not to sound arrogant at all, but a lot of times you can do it on a solo mission.
Right.
You can be an independent contractor and
Right.
still be bringing home 200, 300,000 a year.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff that we do is a one man job.
Hmm.
I when I first started, I was bringing in help. I would even go over to the day labor spot and pick up people when I needed a few hands and just pay them cash. If I needed some muscle to help me get some stuff up and down.
Right.
But for about the first year and a half with this, it was just me by myself.
Yeah.
And then I started realizing I was building it up, and as the reputation grew,
Right.
all started growing. And you can't do it all by yourself. You got to disperse some of that.
Right, absolutely. One of the books that I read was by Robert Kiyosaki,
Yes.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. Now I read that he has a whole series of different books, and one of the things that stuck out to me was that like building that team, like there may be a team of like maybe not directly involved with what you're doing, but
Mhm.
like your accountants, right? Your if you're dealing with any kind of bankers and stuff like that, to kind of have on your team lawyers, right, to kind of look over paperwork and like for instance, the franchise that you're doing right now, right? That's going to involve a lot of lawyers, right, to make sure that the paperwork is on point and that it's fair for all sides or whatever, right? And
Right.
so that's very important. And another thing that I had learned from reading the book with Robert Kiyosaki, all of his books, is pretty much how to value our time,
Yeah.
right? How to start. It was a difference between um, being self-employed and owning a company,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
Where you can get to the point where you built up a team where you're just managing your team, or maybe you're just managing a manager that manages your team, right? And
Right.
so again, we're buying back our time because that's our most valuable asset. And so
Exactly.
to have that mindset, it changed the way I even think about creating certain businesses, right? One of the things I ask myself, okay, is this business scalable, right? Like,
Right.
what do I have to do in order for me to create this system? Because a business is all about systems. To create a
Right.
business and create a system where I don't have to be there in order for that business and that brand to flourish. And so that's something that I want the audience to think about as well, because
Absolutely.
oftentimes, and there's nothing wrong with working in your business. That's great. You may have a passion for it, but I believe that a lot of us start businesses for the freedom of time, right?
Exactly.
And so being in a position where even though it's your own and you have an equity stake in your own company, you may not still want to work 60 hours a week, but it may start off that way. But at
Right.
least have that in mind later on, like, okay, in X amount of years or whenever, I want to be able to train someone or educate someone to do what I'm doing. And that way I don't have to be working in the business. I could be working on the business. So
Exactly.
what's your thoughts on that?
And I think that's you pretty much summed it up. Time is our most valuable commodity. So we have to always be conscientious on where we invest that time, because once you invest it, it's hard to say what that return will be unless you planned it properly. If you plan it properly, you're going to have a good return. But poor planning leads to waste of time. So
Right.
I think most people who create their own business typically start out doing it either for financial freedom or
Mm-hmm.
for time freedom. And then there's many of us who get into it for both of those things. We're looking for the time freedom and also for the financial freedom.
Right.
Uh, it is definitely rewarding to start creating your own schedule. You don't have to punch a clock. If you decide you want to take off for 3-4 days, you just don't schedule nobody for them 3 or 4 days. That
Right.
right there, we call that being off the plantation. We free. If I
Right.
decide I want to
Right.
take off, I take off. So but yeah, man, it definitely takes time. It takes the effort. It takes some discipline. But yeah, that's true freedom when you actually are working for yourself, being independent.
Absolutely, man. Hey, bro, this has been really inspiring, man. You got a great story behind you. Definitely looking forward to seeing the things that you're going to do in the future, man. Especially with the franchising, because I know with franchising, man, that's working on your business right there, right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
creating situations where you're getting residual income, and I think
Yes,
that's
sir.
that's the best kind of money when you're making money while you sleep. And so we
Absolutely.
definitely I definitely got you doing it, man. You're really inspirational, brother, man, and things you're doing really remarkable. How can we get in contact with you? I know that ardentplumbing@gmail.com is a contact. Is there any other maybe social media handles that they can reach out to you on? Are you doing any kind of YouTube videos relating to your industry? So just let the people know how they can reach you.
Absolutely, man. So we are Ardent Plumbing. We got the social media locked on Ardent Plumbing. We everywhere. Ardent
Okay.
Plumbing on the IG, on Ardent Plumbing on Facebook. It's got
Okay.
the master number behind that, so it's Ardent Plumbing M41016 on Facebook. We have the Ardent Plumbing YouTube channel, Ardent Plumbing Twitter. Just look for Ardent Plumbing. We easy to find. You can Google us. You can Google Map us. Most of our social media links are on all of those pages. Once they get on
Okay.
one of
Cool.
them, they'll be able to find all the rest of
Absolutely. There y'all go, y'all. Mr. Kevin Anderson, Ardent Plumbing. Thanks for coming on, brother. You can watch Escaping the Odds podcast on the YouTube channel, Escaping the Odds. Also, escapingtheodds.com as well. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, pretty much everywhere. The podcast can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And yeah, continue to support, like, subscribe, and follow and watch with us what we're doing, switching hustles, escaping the odds, unlocking freedom. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, you all take care. Peace.
them. Peace.